We
Oh,
are going, hey,
great. Oh, we're
we're
here.
live. We're live. Hi, everybody. Okay, so this is the
Hello.
first time I have hosted a live with a pal to chat about cool stuff out loud and then share it. But I think that that's something I really love about Substack is that it's this beautiful space to talk about what you're thinking and feeling and doing and how you're being creative. And there's something really powerful about doing it out loud. So I have my friend Kevin with me. Kevin, how are you? Uh-oh.
I'm doing great. This is also my first time on Substack Live. So, hello, no limits, no barriers. Good to
I
see you.
know. I have to give this amazing follower all the props because you are my first paid subscriber on Substack. And so you have my whole heart and I appreciate
Oh,
you.
amazing.
I know, right? And Stephanie
Stephanie.
Graham is here. We both know Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. How are you? Okay. So the
Philip.
reason that I invited you, Kevin, on to chat with me is, my work is all about knowing, liking, and trusting yourself, and then learning to lead from embodied joy because it changes the way we show up in the world. It changes the way we interact with people, the way we lead, and it has the positive impact that we actually want. And it's counterintuitive to what society tells us to do all the time. Right. I'm suggesting you start with play. I'm
Of course, yeah.
suggesting you start with joy and gratitude and breaking the rules. And instead of thinking you have to earn that, and you, my friend, have really been doing that. So introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about kind of the very big, brave thing that you've recently done.
Yeah. Hey, Frank, new joiner. Yeah, I'm Kevin, and I host a Substack called Standout Creatives Business for Authors. And it's not only for authors, but for any creative person who is looking to really get their word out into the world through marketing, website, um, just your messaging and how you can essentially be your most authentic you and reach your audience and not try to play into the game of, oh, let's figure out how to get as many followers as possible and trying to game the system and all that kind of stuff. I've also recently done a global zine project, which some people may be here for. That was a very cool project on Substack that we released. And this weekend, tomorrow and Sunday, I am doing a creativity summit with two other amazing creative people.
And that is, can people still register for that?
Yeah,
Okay.
it
I'm
is.
registered. I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah,
Um, so how can they do
should be a
that?
lot of fun. Go to summit.creativityparties.com.
Okay. And I'm guessing, is there maybe a link somewhere in your Substack? Can they find it?
One of my most recent posts is, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So try to make it easy on you. The other thing, though, Kevin, that you did, I can't believe we didn't talk about this, that you did. You
Yeah,
just
I mean, we'll
recently,
talk about it.
I
We'll
know,
go
I
through
know, I
different
know,
things.
but
Yes.
I think it's lovely. And I just use the word wild, not because I'm like, how could you do it? But it felt as your pal, like it was such an easy thing for you to do. I don't know if that's true, but it feels
Oh,
like
no.
such a big, massive thing to do. Kevin just and his wife just up and moved from the United States to Costa Rica, and you kind of didn't have a plan, except as you wanted to go, right?
There was a plan, but it was like a lot of bullet points. It wasn't really like, oh, let's make a 30-step, business plan and all this stuff. It was more our intention is to live a more creative and fulfilling life in the way that we want to. And Costa Rica gives us this space to be able to do that. Thanks, Stephanie,
It's
for posting that
awesome. Did you
link.
see that?
Hey,
She just
Lynn.
dropped the link to your summit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thanks, Steph.
Yes. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, but we started really deciding in February. I talk all about this, at least up until I think a month or so before we leave about my journey, and I'll be continuing that all the way up into like present times. So it's
Yeah.
been a fun thing to write about.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I have children, 4 of them, and some of them are still young and in school, but I daydream on a regular basis about moving to another country.
Yes.
Um, what were your key motivators in moving. And what made you pick Costa Rica? And I'm interested because those of you who follow me and know I'm hosting a retreat in Costa Rica in January, and I love Costa Rica. So, yeah.
Yeah, my wife first came here on her bachelorette trip in 2021, and she had such an amazing time. When she came back, she's like, "Oh, you're gonna love it. You gotta come." So I came the very next year, and I was blown away too. Just everything about the place, the nature, the people, just the pace of life, all of that stuff. And then that very next year after I went with my wife, I brought my parents with me the following year, and we did very similar itinerary, and it was just, like, so amazing here.
That's so cool. And so what's notably different about, because you're still doing the same work, you're still running your business from home, you're still the same person, married to the same person. What's noticeably different about life in Costa Rica?
Well, right now, the biggest noticeable thing is that we don't have a car, so we're literally walking everywhere right now, and it's less of a problem than you would expect, especially if this first year we're in San Jose, which is the capital, and there is just so much available to us within walking distance that we can do that. Or if not, there's things like Uber and what a lot of people use here is called Didi. It's pretty much the same thing as an Uber. And that's how we can go if it's more than like a 30, 45 minute walk. We'll take a Didi somewhere.
Okay, that's cool. I did not I knew that I took Ubers when I was there, but I didn't know they had their own sort of driver car service.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
what's
any
something that you realize when you go to different countries, like in Asia, there's also no Uber. They have their own Grab and Bolt or what we used while we were there.
Well, it's interesting. I follow somebody, mm, it might be here right here on Substack. I can't remember if it's Substack or Blue Sky, who's always talking about driving co-op in Colorado, where it's bucking the big corporate approach, and it's
Hmm,
they're sharing and all the profits, anything like. So I wonder if it's anything like that.
interesting. I don't think so. I think this is like a Australian.
Oh,
It's not a
alright,
Costa Rican company. It's like a company that operates out of other countries
gotcha.
too. I don't remember exactly where, but
All right, that's kind of cool. But I love that you did that, and I'm excited because I'm coming to Costa Rica a couple days early in January before my retreat starts, and we're gonna get to hang out in person, and that's gonna be so much fun.
yeah,
It's
because
weird.
you're coming into San Jose. Yeah.
I am coming into San Jose, and then we're taking a domestic flight from San Jose to Quepos, and then we have about a 45-minute drive. Because my Reclaim Your Peace retreat is like legit in the middle of the jungle, and
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
will use the term, they dropped this luxury retreat facility in the middle of the jungle, but they really didn't. They worked really, really hard to build it in a place
Mm.
and to be very, very eco-friendly and eco-conscious and really thoughtful about working with the land and being as least disruptive as possible. It's one of the things that I really liked about the facility and how much they care. And it's kind of wild for me. Like when I was there, I don't know what called me to Costa Rica specifically. I know that I found this venue found me through a couple of
Mm.
different sources. And I'm a 1-3 splenic projector in human design. And my body just knew like, oh, I have to do this. Like I have to host this event here. And my brain was like, but are you sure? Because you're not really a jungle girl. You're more of a, sipping champagne by the lavender fields in Provence kind of girl. And I was like, no, I don't know why. And I hadn't been there and I'd never been to Costa Rica. But I was like, okay, let's do it, which was terrifying, Kevin, because I had to sign a very large financial contract with this property to
Oh, wow.
secure it. And I was like, what am I doing? But then I went to the space this past March, and I'm curious if you have any experience like this or if it's just this sort of oasis that they've built. But I felt so connected to the land. I felt it was almost like a golden cord came up from the core of the earth and connected through my body into the universe. Like I just vibrated with all of that energy. And despite the jungle noise, and there's quite a bit of it, I felt silent for maybe the first time in my entire life. And I'm 50. Like I was like, I can actually hear myself think. I can feel
Mhm.
myself think. Is that something you're experiencing being there?
That's definitely something I experienced, the very first time that I was here because we went into the mountains where the Arnavut volcano is, and they have hot springs, and when you're just, like, relaxing there and just being in that space, you can just kind of feel like you're more in nature. Obviously, it's like a resort, but they've
Yeah.
decorated it so nicely that it feels like you're in with nature and you're just relaxing and just like being instead of worrying about whatever it is on the outside that people worry about. You're kind of
Yeah.
just like
Oh, I
taking it
love
all
that.
in.
So when I come in, actually, the day before leave for Emaloa, we are staying at a beautiful little boutique hotel out in the mountains. And people have that day to go and do things. So maybe you can share with me where you went to those hot springs so that I can send that as a suggestion. Because
It's
I
in the northern part of the
Okay.
country.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love it. And I had somebody say, that, jungle sounds. That's interesting. What is that? And it's just that, like, nature is alive. The sound of the monkeys and the birds and the bugs and, like,
Yeah.
they're
There's
everywhere.
something
I mean,
like
it's profound.
I don't remember exactly what percentage, but there's like I think it's either 3 or 6% of all the biodiversity in the world is is here. I don't know
That's so
where that came
cool.
from, but apparently there's just some very large number because they've intentionally made this country not to focus on, they don't actually have like a
Like,
military here, so they
yeah.
use those funds to fund.
Uh-oh, I hope we didn't lose you, Kevin.
Oh, you're frozen.
Yeah, you're back though, I think. Maybe. There you are. Yeah. That is so cool. Stephanie said she's gonna go to YouTube and look for jungle noises. You're gonna find them, and they're real. But it's pretty cool actually to do that. Oh no, Kevin froze on me again. Um, uh-oh. Yeah, the retreat's gonna be amazing for anybody who's interested in coming with. Oh, I lost Kevin completely. Let's see if we can get him back. Was I want to talk more with Kevin about what this means to be creative. And I feel personally so stressed about marketing and promotion and all of that. Hey, you're back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
We're hearing that everyone is lagging.
Yeah.
Tech is teching this week. I did a whole live show yesterday. I streamed here on Substack, on TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and then realized that my microphone, which I've used for podcasting for years, I didn't realize has a mute button, and I accidentally hit it, so there
Oh,
was no sound on LinkedIn and
oh
YouTube.
my gosh. People are like, "What are you saying?"
Yeah, and I can't see I use Riverside, and you can't see people's comments on LinkedIn and YouTube from Riverside, which sucks.
Oh, right.
So after I was done, I saw a comment on LinkedIn that was like, "We can't hear you," and I'm like, "40 minutes live on LinkedIn, and you couldn't hear me." So that was fun. But I actually practiced my own method, the Brave method, which is what I wrote my book about. I was like, "Okay, well, here's what happened. Here's what I learned from it. Here's what I can do about it." Right? So I'm like, I can't fix it. I can't change it, but I can delete the old video and download the
And
replay from
re-upload.
TikTok, re-upload it to YouTube, and share it. It'll be fine. Like, it's not
Yeah,
the end
the
of the
next
world.
best thing, right, is they couldn't see it live, but they can watch it again if they need to.
They can. Stephanie said that was like a live stream megastorm.
So everybody just, like, lost their connection simultaneously. Maybe
That's
it's a Substack, like,
hilarious.
glitch or something.
That's so
Probably
funny.
what it
I
was.
love that. Well, one of the things that I wanted to chat with you about, because I was saying this when you got kicked out, and I don't know if anybody could hear me or not. I just kept talking because, I wasn't sure if people were there. But
Yes.
one of the things that I don't care for at all is marketing and promotion. It feels like it takes away all the joy of doing the business. But I own my
Mm.
own business, and if I don't market and promote, I don't have a business. So it's stressful, and that's kind of your jam. And so when you talk about creativity, what how does that help, and what's different about your approach, and how can it save me? No, really.
I think, a lot of people who are like heart focused type of people are thinking about marketing in the wrong manner. It might be you, it might not be, but the way that I personally see it that has helped me the most to think about things is to say, who are the people that need to hear my message because I know I can help them?
Yeah,
And
I
how
do
how do
that.
I get that out? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just like I obviously there's a lot of logistical things that go into it and it takes up a lot of time and it feels like it could be a little bit, scammy or whatever, but if you're doing it with intention and in a way that is helpful for people, I think it's a disservice to not get your message out there
Yeah.
as much as you can in a way that you feel is right for you. So that
I mean,
means different things to different people.
I agree with all of that. I just find it really exhausting and overwhelming, even if I know what I'm sharing is powerful and impactful, and I know it inside and out, and it shouldn't feel like maybe it's just because I'm a projector. I don't know, but it feels hard. And it's not that I can't do hard things, but it's just, I don't want to do them all day, every day.
Yeah, what do you think it is that marketing takes out of you when you try to do it?
Um, Keeping up with it
Mhm.
is one element, and I'm sure there's a limiting voice. My subconscious reprogramming training is popping in right now because it doesn't always work. It doesn't always convert. And then you're like, well, you've put so much effort into something and so much heart and love, and then it doesn't work. And then you're like, I could have just read a book. That would have been great. Like, why am I doing this? It's exhausting to put that much effort into something and it doesn't work.
Yeah. What things have you tried that have worked best for you that you've found?
The only thing, and I say this, so I try to be the kind of entrepreneur and transformation coach that's really, really transparent with everyone who's paying attention. I don't have all the answers all the time. I have lots of
Oh,
different
no one
ways that I
does.
try things exactly, but I'm not that person who's gonna come in and be like, "Do it just like this, and it's gonna give you these results," because everybody's different. You gotta try all sorts of different things. I have been an entrepreneur for 25 years, half of my life. I'm 50 years old. And I have run successful business this entire time. And literally the only thing that has ever worked for me is relationship, is conversations and then word of mouth referrals. And I'll give you a great example. Um, Hosting my retreat in Costa Rica, the like 8 super fans that I have who I love with my whole heart, they signed on immediately. They were like, if you're doing it, I want to be there. That's great. And then it was crickets forever, which was a little brutal. And then a friend saw me post about it on TikTok, somebody that I've co-authored books with, and she's kind of been out of my loop for a little bit. She's like, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, I want to do that." And then a former client saw it and said, "I want to do it." But this week, one of my attendees, who's also a former client, got 3 of her friends to sign up.
Oh, wow.
That's the only thing I've ever seen be successful is word of mouth and referral. So I guess it's just all about relationship building, which is what I do. That is what I do on social media for the
Yeah.
most part, is
The
just
only
building
thing about that
relationships.
is scaling relationship is
Yeah,
very difficult.
correct. Hence the exhaustion. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would, um make it more intentional, to reach out to people that have communities that are aligned with you and have
Yeah.
them help you get the message out.
That's what
That's
I've
I
been
know you've
doing.
been doing that a lot,
Yeah.
and I think
We're right here doing this right
yeah,
now, Kevin.
that's what I found is the best way, like, for the summit, the best way to do this was either reach out to people myself or have a message and then have other people share your message for you,
Yeah, yeah.
which
I
I
do
think has
that.
helped a
I
lot.
appreciate that. And, the facility that I'm hosting my retreat at, they put a ton of money into ads, and that's not something that I have done or been able to do. I'm a single mom of 4. I would love to. I think that that would make a difference. I have a community membership that's only $18 a month. That's never gonna make a ton of money, but it could if it had, 1,000 people in it or 5,000 people in it. That would be amazing. But I know something like that needs ads, and, I don't know, I just haven't done ads.
Yeah. And the only, other thing that can help potentially is to work with other people or, have other people help
Collaborate.
you with Yeah.
Yeah.
Either collaborate or you can hire somebody just to do certain things, just to make it so that you don't have to do the things you don't like to do,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of things I'm
Big
assuming
fan.
you don't like to do in your business. So
Yeah,
just offloading the things and working on the things that work best for you and are intentional and,
for sure.
aligned
Yeah.
with what you're trying to do is the way I would do it.
I am a big fan of delegation, folks. Big, big, big fan. Just because you can do it all doesn't mean you should do it all. It doesn't mean you have to.
Nor should you. If you can afford to or, find some way to even do exchanges, a lot of people do service exchanges where you're helping each other in different
Yeah,
ways. And that way, you're not necessarily paying somebody, but you're helping each other. Let's say you wanted me to do your emails and I wanted you to do some like coaching stuff. We could do something like that as an exchange. So that way we're
yeah.
both getting value out of it. And eventually we're going to build our audiences enough together
Yeah.
to
No, I love that. I'm a big fan of the barter system. I think it should be used more than it is. There are lots of ways to make money. I remember my very first coach, the person who taught me how to be a coach. Um, he asked me, we've been working together for, I don't know, 6, 8 weeks. And he said, "So Heather, when do you think you can have your first client?" And I was like, I don't know, 3 months. And he said, "Well, I want you to have your first client in a week." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "There are lots of ways to get paid. I want you to think
Mm,
about out of the box ways to get paid and who can you talk to?" And I did it. I had 2 clients within the next week. And one was a she was a guinea pig client, and I told her that, and I was transparent, and I was like, "I want your feedback, and I want your testimonials." And another was a trade, and then it went from there. And the first paying client that I ever had is is still a friend. She still comes to my stuff. She's local. She comes to my networking breakfast every month, and she was like, "You changed my life." Every day I'm grateful that I got to work
mm.
with you because you changed my life. And that was in the beginning when I didn't even know a little bit as much as I know right now. So I think people underestimate that value a lot.
Yeah. I think everyone says it and it becomes a cliche, but your network is your net worth, right?
Yeah.
It's such a like a I don't like the way it sounds, but it's the truth in it is that if the person you're talking to doesn't necessarily need your services themselves, they might know somebody else that
Yeah.
does. Because as many people as you know that can connect you with other people, the more likely you are to find somewhere in this web of people that a connection that makes sense for you.
Yeah. I agree. Stephanie says it's cheesy, but it seems to be true. It is
It's
true.
yeah.
And I think that it's more true even than the barter system or making money or whatever. It's about like who fills you with joy. Like who do you enjoy being with? Who are you grateful and you grow with? As they say, you either rise and fall to the caliber of the people you spend your time with. And I curate that. I'm careful about who I spend my time with and my energy with because it just matters a lot.
Yeah. There's a theory that there's some circles that go out from the middle. In the middle, you have the smallest number of people, and that is the people who will do anything, like
Mm,
you were saying, to help you no matter what. So there's no questions asked; they'll help you. And then in the ring outside of that is like people that you know, but they won't necessarily jump at the first chance. You have to kind of work with them a little bit in order to convince them, or to get them to become a person in the center. And then you have the big circle, which is like social media. We're just trying to get people to notice you. So it's taking people from the outer circles and getting them
into the inner
into
circles.
the inner circles. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the only way to do that is to have genuine
Oh,
engagement
yeah.
and conversation. And so if I if I'm moved by something that I see on social media, I will always engage or respond because if you've worked hard, it's the same theory. If I stop to listen to a street musician, I tip them
Mm,
because they're working. They're there working, and if their work makes me stop and pay attention, then I think they deserve some sort of compensation. And so On social media, compensation is engagement. Like, I love this. I heard this. Let me amplify this. In fact, I did a live show about that a couple months ago, how easy it is to be an amplifier if your intentions are
Mm.
good.
And it
Um,
costs you nothing to
it
be an
costs you
amplifier.
nothing. Yeah. No, time and very little of it at that. And I just love to see people win. Like, I really, really love to see people thrive and win. It makes me really happy.
Yeah. So I think the best way to do your best work is to help other people do their best work, right?
That's
That's
me
the
for
only
sure.
way that you're going to
Yeah.
get convince people to work with you beyond a first initial attempt is if you've done such a good job that they'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's a no-brainer to work with you again or to
Yeah.
do the next thing or to buy your next thing or whatever." Um, there's a guy named Kevin Kelly who has a very popular article called 1000 True Fans. And that's just like, in order to survive and thrive, all you need is 1000 people who are really dedicated to what you're doing. And then you can, every time you're releasing something or making something, they're just right on it. So, how
Yeah.
do you expand from that 8-person circle
I
of
know. I
super
know. Like,
fans
oh,
to a 1,000
18,000.
people? Obviously, that's hard to scale when you're doing one on one personal relationships, but that doesn't mean you can't, in
Yeah.
those relationships, that you can either sell a lot of things that cost a little bit of money, you can sell, a few things that cost a lot of money, or you can do, like, a mixture
I
of
do
any
all of
number
it.
of those things. Yeah.
And that's important to me. We have a question from Stephanie I'm gonna ask in just a second. But for me as a business owner, as a heart-centered conscious leader, within my integrity, I have several ways that I offer free support because I want it to be available to everyone. I have low, you can get one-off subliminal audios, you can join the Spark Collective for 18 a month, like, there's that, and then there's middle price, couple hundred kind of thing, and then it goes up from there. So I try to make something that will fit everybody's budget and needs to the best of my ability. Okay, Stephanie says, I agree with Heather that marketing can be draining. Kevin, can you give some ideas of like two things that we can do every day to market and or promote ourselves? And then what is the difference between marketing and promotion?
So the things that I would do are the things that you find most enjoyable. I know that a lot of the times that doesn't make you the money, but if you do it well enough and you help people enough. Well, I guess it depends on what kind of business you're running. So, Stephanie, you're an artist. Um, it's a little bit different because you're trying to sell your artwork, but the main thing is like making those connections deeper in your case with those collectors or people who are interested in buying your photographs. And how do you do that? That is both aligned with you and makes sense for them in a way that they want to connect with you. Um, Marketing versus promotion. Um,
It's a good
Promotion to
question.
me, I don't know what the definitions of each of those are, but promotion sounds to me like a discount or something along those
Mm.
lines.
That's not
So
how I hear the word
versus
promotion. So that's interesting.
yeah, I mean, I guess there's different definitions of promotion, but in my mind, that's what I would think
Yeah.
about when if I'm trying to distinguish the difference between those, like promotion. What's the promo code, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, promotion to me just means like pushing your stuff out. But
Yeah,
um but yeah, that's
versus
that's oh,
drawing
that's
people
really
in.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Kevin, can you tell folks what is happening at the conference this weekend? What kinds of different things they can experience? How much of their time is required? Because that was for me. I don't work on the weekends, and creativity isn't necessarily always about work, but sitting on a summit for me feels like it's part of my job to expand myself. But I was like, no, I'm really curious. I want to do this, but I don't know how much I can show up. So, what can people expect? What kinds of things will be happening? And what's the time commitment?
Oh, yeah. So it's gonna be from 1 to 4 PM Eastern Time, so that's 5 PM, that's 4 hours of time, and I think the biggest difference between what we're doing and what most summits are is we're gonna be doing a lot of interactive things, so one of the things I'm gonna be doing in both days is, like, fun activities to get you out of your brain and stop thinking like, "Oh, I'm just stuck up here." all the time.
Yeah.
How do you get out of that? What are some activities and ways to kind of break free from the thinking brain and just like doing and having fun with it? And that's another thing that we're going to try to do is just like have fun throughout the time. And there's going to be networking opportunities so you can meet all the other people. That's one of the things that happens is in live conferences and summits where you get to meet people outside of the sessions, like in the waiting room. So we're going to try to recreate that kind of thing within the summit itself. So that way you're not just listening to people talk. And then other than that, there's like going to be tools and resources in order for you to be more creative. How do you get out of your head? How do you stop procrastinating? All these kinds of things and philosophies on how to live a more creative life.
I love that. So obviously being there in person, if you really value the interactive hands-on activities and the networking is super important. If you can't be there in person, is there a replay or are there other ways that you can get the information?
Yeah, there will be a replay, and then if you sign up, we will be sending the replay for free for everyone. And if you aren't able to attend, you can see what happens. Obviously, you're going to be missing out on specific connections and stuff
Yeah.
like that, which I'm not sure how the main room is going to look during those times. We might have to cut out some stuff, but I think the
Mhm.
biggest thing is you can come in and out if you want to, and that you don't have to stay the whole time, but the experience that we're trying to create is best if you are coming to as many things as you can and connecting with all the people and doing work that doesn't feel like work. It's going to be, working on yourself and your creativity, but it's not going to be like, oh, I'm building a business plan or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I just think anything with creativity, my friend Rachel, who I co-created the deck of Create Brave manifestation cards with several years ago, she had a creativity conference in person. And each
Mm.
room, one was where you would, make your own um, coloring pages. And I did one on gratitude and how you can bring gratitude into creativity. And it was just such a fun and then we closed. I don't know how you would do this virtually, but we closed. She had a singer, and we were all in a circle, and she would have us sing, like follow her, and we'd get louder and quieter, and we'd get closer to each other, and like feeling
Oh,
the
cool.
vibration of people. It was such a cool experience. So I think that the reminder that creativity is subjective, that your creativity is going to look different than somebody else's creativity. I mean, my podcast, Was It Chance, is the podcast about embracing opportunity and taking intentional risk for your creative life. And we interview people from the episode we have out right now is with Tad Stromer, who's a historian, but has a huge creative following and authors and dancers and, all across the board. Creativity has to, like, it can look and feel like so many different things. You just have to find your own ways to tap into it. And I love how you help people do that, Kevin.
Yeah. One interesting thing, you were not able to attend, but Stephanie and I and Heather are in a podcast collective, feminist podcast collective. And I just had a session this week where we were trying to help me figure out, since my show is called Standout Creatives, how do I make it more standout and creative than the typical just, solo episode and interviews? And there were a lot of ideas generated in this that I can play with now that there's like so many ideas out in the world. I'm like, oh wow, there's too many things now, and I have to take that and kind of cull it down into the thing that makes the most sense for me. So I think one of the things, especially with this summit, is that you're going to be in this room with so many other creative people in the world. And how do you take ideas that aren't just your own, but through a collective mind, group mind, I think is often the way that the most and best ideas come out is because you're not spending all of your energy, you're using the
You're
collective mind.
crowdsourcing. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love
And
that.
you
I was
you
super
take
bummed.
that and yes.
I was super bummed I had to miss your session, but I'm gonna watch the replay because it sounds like it was a really cool room to be in. And you brought up something I think is really interesting. In those sorts of scenarios, you do have to set your own boundaries and limits because it would be so easy to just be super overwhelmed and then not do anything, right? So I don't know, you'll have to tell us what you did, but I think I would be like, okay, let me write all of these down, walk away and come back and pick one or two that I feel really excited about. And the rest can stay. Like I can come back to them later, but you can't do everything at once. How
Oh
did you
yeah,
handle
no.
that?
I am still processing my way through all of the suggestions, and I will, at that point, figure out what makes the most sense for me. I have an idea that there's going to be some improv elements in it, but I haven't decided exactly what that looks like yet. And just having people that have been guests connect with each other, or take a unique look at different things instead of like an interview with one person. How do we take a round table or something like that, pull out some of the stuff, do some experiments? There's just like all kinds of stuff that you
Yeah.
can
Oh, a round table could be
potentially do.
fun. Yeah.
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 So one of
That's
the ideas was to look at a book launch through the lens of different people who worked on a single book. So what did the publisher say? What did the editor say? What did the author say? What did the illustrator say? And kind of just approach it like, how would we, if we were doing this from scratch, do it to be the most successful launch that we can have, right?
that's fun. That's really cool. One of the things that I love about co-hosting my podcast was at Chances. Alan and I are so different. We think differently, we observe differently, and we ask very, very different questions. And we both love this
Mm.
because I would never have thought of the questions he would ask, and he would never have thought of the questions that I would ask. And then the guest will answer that question, and then that brings something interesting to my mind. And so having that dynamic to play off of is really, really fun, and it takes a little of the pressure off too to always be guiding and leading the conversation.
Yeah, it gives you some opportunity to actually think more about what they're saying, because when
Yeah.
you're doing an interview by yourself, you have to think, okay, what is the next thing that
Yeah.
happens because of what they said? But if you're on the sidelines, you get to think, process, and come up with, the best thing that makes sense within the context of the
Yeah.
overall conversation, right?
It's a lot of fun. All right. Well, Kevin, I want to let you get back. I know you're prepping for a big summit tomorrow, and maybe
I
you're going to
am.
go outside and be in the wonderful weather, although it's warm here, but it's not tropical in Chicago. But thank you so much for chatting with me. What do you think of your first Substack Live?
Oh, it's great. I love just chatting and seeing people join who I didn't expect anybody to join. I don't know if you did, but it's always fun to have people come in, just to see what you're up to, because
Yeah.
we're not big audience people, so it's like always great to see that
It
people are interested to hear what we say.
It is fun. Stephanie said, great conversation. We're so glad you were
Thank you,
here. Thanks for
Stefan.
engaging because that does make a difference. I will tell you, just for future reference, I find Substack to be the easiest platform to go live on and have people join and engage. It makes it so much more fun to show up and say yes because you feel like you're actually building community with people instead of just like talking to yourself on your camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you're like a Twitch streamer who has like hundreds of people and you can't even read the feed anymore.
I don't have I have not had that experience. So yeah.
Neither have I, but I don't know how people do that.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Kevin, for
Yeah,
hanging out.
thanks, everyone.
And we'll see you over the weekend at the summit. You guys got to sign up for the
Yeah,
Creativity Summit. Okay.
bye.
Bye.